Tons of cool designs are open for exploration in Marvel Snap. I went over some custom cards from custom Marvel Snap subreddit and also from my Discord, which will be, well, they'll both be linked below. First, we'll go over subreddit stuff. We have a Blackjack OHare here. This is really cool. It's like the Guardians of the Galaxy cards, but inverted. So normally on reveal, if your opponent also plays a card here, you get plus power. But here with Blackjack OHare, it is a 1 energy, 4 power. On reveal, if your opponent played a card here, you lose 2 power. I think this might be a little bit overtuned. Maybe it should be a 1/3 that'll lose like 1 power. I feel like this is consistently going to be 4 power. A really cool design though. I think this should be explored a bit. Just being able to riff off of these current designs already, kind of flip them. It's pretty cool. Also would work in like a Luke Cage sort of deck. I think as more cards come out, Luke Cage is going to get even better. I don't have him yet, but he would be great with this, assuming you end up getting that negative power. But a 1/4 is very premium stats. There's not a lot of 1/4s out there. You get like Ant-Man, kind of, I guess Rocket Raccoon if you hit, but it's very hard to hit. Maybe this would be better like if your opponent doesn't play a card here next turn. Oh, maybe if it was like if your opponent plays a card here next turn, -2 power. That way it'd be like Hawkeye, but inverted. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, next up we have Hydroman, a 4 energy, 1 power. So kind of Sandman stats, makes sense. And then ongoing, players must play more than 1 card a turn or none at all. This is really cool because generally people want to play, on turn 5, they're probably playing a 5-drop. On 6, they're playing a 6-drop. But then you get these Sarah Miracle decks or like these sort of Patriot decks or these Silver Surfer decks, which they're just vomiting 2-3 cards on that last turn. This kind of benefits those, whereas Sandman would kind of limit those, right? But this would really hurt things like leader decks, maybe, if they want to play multiple cards. They can't do it. They have 6 energy, they're just playing leader. Or if they want to play destroyer, they can't do that anymore. But this is kind of weird, and obviously this needs some fleshing out, because if this gets played and Sandman is also played, it's game over? Stalemate? Or I guess it's not a stalemate, someone's gonna win, but that's kind of weird, right? So maybe an interesting way to change this would be to like reduce your opponent's energy or something by 1 the next turn, so they can't play that 6-drop maybe. So maybe Hydroman could instead be ongoing. Your opponent has 1 less energy. That's it, 1 less energy, I guess. So on 5, they would have just 4 energy, and on 6, they would have just 5 energy. This would probably still be maybe too good. It'd be fun to mess around with, but maybe overpowered. Maybe this should have like 0 power or something. All right, we got Snapshot here, 6 energy, 6 power. This costs 0. If played in a location, it would fill. I really like this design, this concept. I think it's busted. I don't think this needs to be 6 power. I think this is very good at 4 power. Even at 3 power, I feel like it would still maybe be playable. Probably 4 power is like a good spot, because in something like a zoo deck, you're often filling things up. So cool design, bit overtuned, but it's definitely got some legs. This one is one of my favorites that I have seen, at least today. It's 9 energy, 0 power. It is the Godkiller, and it costs 1 less for each card moved this game. Ongoing, your power is quadrupled at this location. I think it's way too strong. Even if it was just doubled, kind of like Iron Man, I think that's enough, really. 1 less for each card moved is kind of crazy, especially when you have something like Heimdall. Maybe you could cheese out Heimdall early, move like 3-4 cards. Maybe you fisted something. Maybe you Doctor Stranged something. Just being able to play this, like reducing it to 6 energy, if you just play it on the last turn, like forget about the Heimdall. Quadrupling your energy or your power is ridiculous. That's incredibly good. So maybe overpowered, but I loved the start of this design for something that costs less for each card that is moved. I think is really cool. I love movement decks. I think a lot of people love movement decks. It's just, they feel so big brain to play. It's just like a puzzle every time. But in deeper pool 3, it's like you lose. It sucks. You can't really play movement decks unless you're early pool 3 or if you're in pool 2. Like I almost want to make another account that's in pool 2 so that I can just enjoy a movement deck. But I think there's a lot of room for design in movement. Maybe cards that will move your card 1 to the right, like Heimdall, but instead it is Dahlheim. He shifts all your cards to the right, so your opponent doesn't, expect and know exactly what you're gonna do. So this is really fun, really cool. Love it. We got Tenfingers here at 3 energy, 4 power. Increase your hand size by 3. Often hands feel small at 7 cards. I mean, there's no burning, so it doesn't feel too bad, but increasing your hand size by 3 could be good. Maybe if you're doing something like a dinosaur, this would make your dinosaur have 6 more power, possibly, potentially. This would make Nick Fury pretty crazy, because often he just, pollutes your hand and you can't really do anything. This would maybe strengthen helicarrier stuff. Stuff like that would just be so cool. So if you had increase hand size to 10, and then maybe you played Magic, you had that extra turn to not only draw, but you had an extra turn to maybe play Nick Fury or discard that helicarrier or something like that. Really cool to be able to mess around with hand size. This, I think, is something that's been done in Hearthstone, and that card was cool. Oh, by the way, this was made by Dillweed2211. I don't think I've said the other people's names, but they'll all be linked in the description of links to these subreddit posts. All right, we have Anti-Venom here, a 3 energy, 3 power. On reveal, destroy your other cards at this location, add their abilities to this card. So kind of like Venom, right? Anti-Venom. You'll destroy your other cards, but he'll just get their abilities. Whereas Venom will get their power, but not their abilities. So it's a cool riff on that it's similar to Venom, but it's Anti-Venom, and it gets their abilities instead. So maybe you're trying to make just one big card here. Like this could eat a Devil Dinosaur and do absolutely nothing. It would do the same thing as Devil Dinosaur, because Devil Dinosaur has 3 power, right? But maybe if you had 2 Devil Dinosaurs in the lane and you use Anti-Venom and you ate them both, you just have one huge Anti-Venom. It's a really cool concept. Don't know how useful it is in theory. I don't know if they expect this to re-trigger on reveals. I hope not. I think that would be overpowered, but a cool design nonetheless. Maybe I'm missing like a key card that this would go great with. Probably just something that's ongoing. I mean, just eating an Iron Man, possibly. Pretty good. Another cool one here, the ManThing. 2 energy, 0 power. When your opponent plays a card here, afflict it with -2 power. So if this is played on a lane that has nothing, this is almost like a 2 energy, 8 power. This kind of seems balanced to me. Something like Mojo is 2 energy, 8 power. If your opponent fulfills the full condition, maybe your opponent just plays one big thing, like the Destroyer in this lane, and he only gets -2. So this ends up being like a 2/2, which is completely fine. Or maybe this ends up being OP. Maybe it should be 3 energy instead, or -2 power itself. Because as long as you're playing this and then your opponent plays 2 minions in that lane, you're gonna get some decent value here. So yeah, maybe at 3 energy might be the right way. But a cool design that really causes your opponent to think and play around it. All right, so pulling from my Discord now. This is from the custom cards section in my Marvel Snap Discord. This is from Miles Asuka. We have Bullseye at 4 energy, 1 power. On reveal, target a card to destroy. This is way too good. I feel like this would have to be like 6 energy to just be okay. But at that point, maybe it's all right. You're kind of just gonna counter your opponent's play. If they play a big card on the final turn, they just slap down their Destroyer, you play your Bullseye, it's gonna kill the Destroyer, ruin their whole game plan. But you would also have to have had Throne priority, unless this could target cards that are face down, which I don't think so. I think the priority game is really fun to play around. Sometimes you intentionally throw priority, right? So maybe Bullseye would be pretty cool. But are there any cards that actually like target things? I think most of them are random. Like maybe if it was just destroy a random enemy card in this lane, that might be interesting as well. Kind of like Gambit, but in the lane, so a little bit less random. Also from Miles, we have Agony here at 4 energy, 3 power with ongoing. Every turn this card targets and spits acid at the highest power card your opponent has down. -2 to affected card. Now, I think this is a little bit too good. On turn 4, 5, and 6, you're going to remove 2 power from your opponent, so that's going to be -6. Plus, this has 3 power itself, so it's a 4/9. I mean, I guess something like Warpath is also a 4/9, but I think those conditions are a bit harder to meet. I think maybe if this ended up being like a 4/8, it would be a little bit better. So maybe we make this 4 energy, 2 power. And I think the text is a bit too descriptive. It would just say something like, every turn this target removes 2 power from your opponent's highest power card. You know what I mean? It's a little bit confusing, but essentially you're just going to remove 2 from their side of the board every turn, which is a really cool concept. I have not seen anything like this implemented, so I think they got something like this could be and maybe should be explored. And of course, this could just be Enchantress, or you can even use Rogue on this, steal it, and then you just start hitting them instead. Really fun design. Another one here, we got Scream at 3 energy, 2 power. If this is in the middle location, -2 to left and right opponent location. So it's kind of like Mr. Fantastic, and it's essentially the same thing, except instead of adding to your sides, you're removing from your opponent's sides. So kind of cool. Another one of those cards where it's kind of just like flipping it. Instead of it benefiting you, it kind of hurts your opponent. Kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy card we talked about earlier. Really cool design. I like this a lot, actually. From Aya004, we have Phalanx here. 1 energy, 0 power. On reveal, destroy your deck. Gain +1 power for each card you destroyed. Generally, you might play this on the last turn. I don't think you want to play this early. Or maybe you play it on 5 to make your death a bit cheaper, right? If you play this on turn 6 with a 5 power card, maybe like Arrow, this is going to be a 1 energy, 3 power, which seems balanced. If you do it early, there are probably some interactions that would be good for it. Again, like death would be good, but generally you don't want to do that. But a fun design for sure. We have Melinda May here, 1 energy, 2 power. When one of your cards is discarded, immediately draw this card. Kind of reminiscent of Angel, where if one of your cards is destroyed, this leaps onto the board. Or M'Baku at the end of the game, this leaps onto the board. So maybe this is kind of in that vein, but instead you're drawing it. I feel like it should almost cost 0 if you're drawing it, but then it might actually be overpowered because you play this in a discard deck. But generally playing a 1 energy, 2 power is not too good. So I feel like this either needs to go straight onto the board, or maybe it should have 1 additional power or reduce the energy cost if the effect does go off, or perhaps it's actually just fine as it is because it thins your deck. Playing a discard deck, you're going to be more consistently drawing hella because you have so many discards. You know, you're going to draw this. That means instead of spending a turn drawing a card, you're possibly going to draw hella instead, or Ghost Rider, or whatever you're really looking for. Got some cool cards here from Jetty138. Also in the Discord, we have a 3 energy, 3 power Loki. You can't play this on turn 6, and on reveal, increase cube count by 1. I do think messing around with the amount of cubes is something that could be explored as a game mechanic, because ultimately it comes down to cube management. So to my understanding, maybe I'm reading this wrong, instead of it being a 2 cube final, if you play this before, this will bump it up from 1 cube to 2 cubes, and then the final would be 4 cubes, right? But if you guys have already agreed on 2 cubes and you play this, the next one's gonna be 3 cubes? Which is actually a number that's not in the game, I don't think, right? 3 and 6. It's only 1, 2, 4, and 8. So this is interesting. Love design around cubes. There was like Lost Dimension in the last custom video. That was a lot of fun. An interesting design here with Grand Master, also from Jetty138 at 5 energy, 2 power. On reveal, the first card each player plays next turn is free. This can be absolutely busted. Another card that's just good if you're playing a big deck. If you play this on 5, on turn 6, you can play 2 6-drops. Kind of crazy, and will definitely usually help you out way more than your opponent. I think this should be 5 energy, 0 power, but then I'm worried about like Mr. Negative might make this a little too good. That's the hard part. Mr. Negative makes things really hard to balance because you're like, okay, lower the energy, but then it's like, well, then Mr. Negative is just going to be busted with this. Or sorry, not lower energy, but lower power, right? If you make this a 5-0, all of a sudden it's a 0-5. And then your opponent just draws Mr. Negative into this, and then they win the game, like some sort of Exodia combo. But still a cool mechanic to mess around with. I think a 5-0 is good, but then, you know, Mr. Negative. But yeah, that's it for the custom cards for this week. Feel free to post more in my Discord. I'll take a look at them. I'm trying to make this a weekly thing. I know it's been like 8 days at the time of recording this. 8 days since the last one is uploaded. I've just had so much content I've been doing that I have more videos than there are days in the week. If you like the video. If you appreciate it, do subscribe. Helps me out a lot. Hope you guys enjoy. Good luck on ladder and stay hydrated.